Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's a wrestling podcast. That's right, the Getting Over crew are all here, and we're going to talk some Extreme Rules. Any of you long-time listeners will remember that we've already done the results from last time, so we're straight into predictions this time. Well, there you go. If you're checking us out on YouTube, you can see our lovely faces, and while you're there, you can click the subscribe button and, maybe let other people know. Word of mouth is an amazing thing. If you're listening along, that's perfectly fine, but you can also subscribe and you can also share, which means a lot to us. So here we go. This is CookieCast, Getting Over.
Recording in progress.
Definitely for the first time today, we're going to start recording this podcast. We've never done this before. I know that I'm being recorded because the lady said, but I'm going to find out now if Stu's being recorded and hand over to him. Stu?
Hello. Welcome along to episode 37 of Getting Over. Last time we came to you with a cheeky results episode, garnished with some delightful wrestling-themed beers. If you haven't had a chance to catch up with SummerSlam, or you haven't had a chance to check out what we thought about the beers, please feel free, obviously, to go back and check that one out. And then come back right here, where you will find, in the red corner, that's more of a boxing analogy, I guess, than the wrestling, but still, in the slightly redder corner, Mr. Andy Cook.
Can I have my full title, please?
As in reigning, defending, undisputed pay-per-view predictions champion of the podcast, Mr. Andy Cook. I mean, it's a delightful hat you've turned that into. You see on my screen, I'm at the same level, but we're definitely not, because this is now, he's holding that title after, what was it, the third clean sweep of predictions in the end?
No, didn't we have a brief interlude where I took it and then...
I know, but when he took it back, he did it in style, didn't he? So, and the voice that you just heard for the audio listeners is back once again, Mr. Matthew Moore.
Hello.
And the somewhat elect mute, literally and figuratively, I guess, at the moment, Mr. Paul Williams. There you go. You see, right on cue. Didn't speak.
Apologies. I'm trying to make myself a caffeinated beverage, and it is loud. So apologies. I'll mute myself so you don't all have to listen to my coffee machine.
There we are, ladies and gentlemen. The professionalism of this podcast. Paul sticking the mute button on there. Right, he's just thinking of you. Is all. Well done, Paul.
I'll have mine black and one, please.
Also since last time we were here, we had Getting Overs and possibly CookieCast's first ever unboxing video. Yeah?
Yep.
So I waded through a wicked delivery from Wrestle HQ. Have you seen it? If you've not, again, feel free to go and check that out. If you have bothered to watch it, thank you very much. It is up on the YouTube channel, so whilst you're there, all the usuals, like, share, subscribe, and all that business, if you wouldn't mind. And if you want to check out the figures, it's superpowertoys.co.uk, so yeah, go check them out too. We would normally start with said predictions title, but as we've already said, Mr. Cook holding that aloft proudly earlier on. But we did the results. So let's move straight into the news, and there is a lot of news since the last time we were here. But we might as well start with AEW this time around. So All Out happened within the time frame since last time, and this was not only CM Punk's return to the ring after 7 years away, but we also saw the debuts of Ruby Soho. She won the Casino Battle Royal. Adam Cole taking his place alongside the rest of the Elite, and the man formerly known as Daniel Bryan Mr. Bryan Danielson making his AEW debut. Any of you gents seen All Out or any of AEW since the pay-per-view?
I've seen clips of it and stuff like that, but not kind of got round to kind of fully watching it.
Was Rosario Dawson at something AEW based?
Yes, that was last week.
I saw that happen.
Yeah. So in the States, I believe that Cody is doing some kind of semi-reality based TV show.
That's the one.
He can't say Big Show on AEW. He's not
Trust
Big Show.
Trust me, he can and does. So.
That's just JR.
So does Jim Ross, yeah.
Yeah. On that note, actually, I was watching Dynamite from this past week. He called Malachi Black the correct name, and then went, "Wait a minute, no, it's Malachi Black." He checked himself, which was quite fun. But yeah, I enjoyed All Out. I've actually enjoyed Dynamite since as well. AEW seem to be really picking up steam, not only just amongst the internets, of the wrestling fans, but also like viewers and all the rest of it. They seem to be really going from strength to strength. I'm quite enjoying the fact that there's a good bit of competition, and the fact that Dynamite this week opened with Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson as the opening match. Spoiler alert, it was awesome, but it also went to a time limit draw as well, which, like, how often does that happen these days?
Never, Stuart. Never is the answer.
But it's all part of the storytelling, because nobody came off looking any worse, apart from the fact they were both absolutely beat to shit with chops all across the chest. But yeah, really good. Check it out if you've not made time to do so. And the fact it's on free TV as well, still in the UK as well, is worth a shout on ITV. Mm-hmm. Moving away then from AEW, I feel compelled to ask Andy if he wants to deliver what he could possibly think might be the next bit of news.
I imagine it's possibly to do with a film. Is it to do with a film, Stu?
Kind of, because the person I was going to mention is in said film, but you've mentioned the film. Why don't you lay that one in now?
So I was treated to a delightful trailer for Netflix's new venture, which has The Undertaker's name in the title. I was like, oh wow, The Undertaker getting in bed with Netflix. But they didn't line his pockets in any way, shape or form. And as I was sort of getting building a little excitement, I was swiftly kicked square in the nuts. Because 3 gentlemen appeared on the screen and ruined my day. Or should I say, ruined my new day.
Who has the more irrational hatred? Is it Andy of the New Day, or is it Matt of Mark Andrews?
I mean, I think my hatred is rational, is it not?
Is it though?
Maybe we should put it up as a poll on the back end of the video chat.
What a great idea.
But yeah, this is the news that Netflix have it's not only just a movie with the Undertaker and the New Day, obviously squarely in time for Halloween as well. But it's like one of these like weird Netflix like adventure things where you pick your own path. So like it gives you a choice at the end of the chapter, and you decide what happens next in that respect. So, as a child of the 80s and early 90s, I used to have this in book form, where you'd get to a page and you'd make a decision and go to a different page. I mean, it's just a lazy version of that. It's all on your TV. But yeah, I don't know what to make of that personally. But we'll maybe we should review it on one of the podcasts next time around. But yeah,
have a watch along with Andy as he desperately tries to get the New Day killed.
I saw options, and like parts of the trailer suggest that members of the New Day don't make it if you make certain selections. And I was like, I am all over this. I think we should do a live watch-along party where I'm just like, kill him, kill him, kill him.
So the disappointment of seeing them appear on the screen was swiftly replaced by the option of being able to see him off.
It was. It brought me down a notch when I was like, "Oh, hang on a minute, I might be able to, get rid of them in the process of watching it." I think I could.
Wow.
And think about the rewatch factor on it, because multiple different options.
Well, one man from the New Day that you certainly can't get rid of at the moment is Big E. That was where I was headed originally. I thought you would want to deliver the news of how excited you would be when he cashed in the Money in the Bank on the 13th of September to become the new WWE champion. Personally, really well deserved. Long time coming for him. Personally, for me as well, I kept this back and actually watched this unfold with my twin boys, and seeing them kind of like light up when it all happened and stuff highlights to me exactly what it's about. And that's like really cheesy, but like I knew it was coming, they didn't, and yeah, it was pretty cool to see that. But I wondered more if after we mentioned AEW before, after seemingly them hitting home run after home run at the moment, is this the beginning of the response by WWE to kind of freshen things up a little bit? Because not only did they give the new title holder the championship, but they also moved him shows in the process as well.
Well, there's they've already mentioned the fact they're going to be doing a draft shortly, so I think there was a lot of people that were saying it might be a case of he's moved to Raw, but he's not going to be on Raw for long, and that he'll probably get moved back to SmackDown, and they're going to put the Universal title back onto Raw or something like that. But
I can't see it.
It's not having it? Okay. No. Well, Stu says it's not happening in New Zealand, so get your money on it happening.
Yeah. Well, yeah, based on my predictions for him, why the hell not? As Paul alluded to, the draft has been confirmed. SmackDown will be home to the first night of picks on the 1st of October, and then Raw will pick up the night 2 on the 4th. On that basis, then, as Paul's already mentioned, that he'd like to see all the, and this is the guy who his favourite game is hot potato. He wants to see all the titles move around. Who would you like to see go where? Obviously, Andy can't send New Day to the bin. Is the
I wouldn't be adverse to.
Did you say
moving? I wouldn't be adverse to a moving Reigns to Raw, because obviously he's had the championship for a year now, so in theory he's ran through all the competition he has that's there to offer, really. So you'd imagine that him moving over to Raw would open up the opportunity to have the McIntyre feud that never happened, unless obviously they keep him on SmackDown. They should move McIntyre to smacking down. Jesus,
oh, there we go. Is this
I
new
thought you were saying
already?
McIntyre. I was like, oh, this is amazing. But no.
Get that on your t-shirts.
If he doesn't open that, if he does get drafted to SmackDown, he doesn't open with that little phrase, "Welcome to Friday Night SmackIntyre" or something like that. He's missed out on a trick, hasn't he? So, yeah, I think one of those two options for me would make the most sense. Aligning it so that Reigns and McIntyre are on the same show.
I agree. I already had written down. I think McIntyre to SmackDown is pretty much given at this point. I don't think they'll move Reigns, because as much as it would make sense by what Paul said, I think the Fox money will speak more highly of keeping Reigns where he is. I think that he's also as well not dealt with the Brock Lesnar situation just yet. Clearly that's to come. That match has already been announced for Crown Jewel. Whether he has the Universal title after this weekend or not, definitely will. But yeah, it's so there is kind of that situation as well. And spoiler, Crown Jewel is after the 1st of October, so I think Reigns is pretty safe. It does sort of beg the question as well, after the recent revamp of NXT, which I was going to come to in a second. Some of the almost the old guard from NXT probably will maybe not be welcome so much in the revamp, and maybe might find a home on Raw or SmackDown. I mean, or the Job Centre Q, whichever way they're feeling that month. But I would have, before this week, I would have put money on like possibly Roderick Strong being one of those. Even though there's the Diamond Man thing going on, I think he possibly would have been up for a move. But they've just put the Cruiserweight title on him, so looks like he's there to stay. But one man who has reportedly now signed a long-term deal with WWE is Pete Dunne. So that'd be interesting to see him if he gets a shift up as well, because they had the chance to put the title on him, on the NXT title on him the first week of the revamp, and they've gone back to Tommaso Ciampa, another one who I thought would move up, probably won't now either. So yeah, I guess we'll see where that one goes. So yeah, the NXT re-debut happened on the 14th of September. Like I mentioned, they did crown a new NXT champion in the process in Tommaso Ciampa. This was because Samoa Joe ended up relinquishing the title due to a mysterious injury that just happened to occur 3 days before the new TV show was due to be aired, when everything was brand new. So, was it really an injury? I guess that's to be determined. But either way, Goldie's gone back.
Look out for his new book, stroke album, in the shops in the next week.
But yeah, Goldie's gone back home to Tommaso Ciampa. Kyle O'Reilly was supposed to be in that match for the title and got taken out as well. They put an absolute unknown in Von Wagner, who definitely looks like the great Khali.
On a podcast, it came out that he is. Do you remember the Beverly Brothers from way back in the day? One of the guys who's called Mike Bloom, I believe was his name. It's his son. Apparently.
I mean, I didn't realise he'd had relations with the great Khali at any point, but Jesus Christ, that is uncle, isn't he? So there we are. But yeah, it's. I mean, has anybody seen the new NXT yet? I've caught the first episode so far. I haven't quite caught up with the new one.
Yeah, same. I watched the first episode. Thought it looked quite good. Rick Steiner's son, or Braun Breaker, as they've rechristened him, looks like he's pretty swole.
I think that's the thing you notice about it, is that everyone's got a bit bigger, a bit more hench.
Really? You would never have thought that Vince McMahon had taken over the creative control of it, would you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I thought it was a strange decision to put the title on Ciampa. You know, not that he's not a good champion, but it seems we want to move away from old indie guys, and I mean, Timothy Thatcher aside, they perhaps put the title on the oldest indie guy.
Yeah.
And it seems like, and I know, like, everybody, I know I was pretty, you're pretty sure they're not going to put it on an unknown, but you kind of think, is Ciampa the kind of, you'll know he'll do a good job, and he'll do it right, but you kind of think, surely you want to put it on somebody, somebody who's young and want to take the company forward. I mean, you just wonder whether Vince walked in there, heard Pete Dunne speak, and was like, nope.
I'll be amazed if Ciampa's still the champ by Thanksgiving.
Agreed. I think it was weird because if it is a legit injury, fair enough. But it was almost like they were going in with Samoa Joe as the experienced professional, safe pair of hands. Then this came up, and it absolutely stinks of the fact it's probably that they've just taken it off him to give it back to a seasoned professional as the safe pair of hands again. It's like I was convinced that it was going to be Kyle O'Reilly or Pete Dunne. I think, was it Paul had mentioned amongst us that he thought LA Knight was going to take it, which really probably wouldn't have been the worst thing ever.
Which in hindsight looked even more stupid when he jobbed out twice that night. Because he lost the opening match and then was in the main event and lost that as well.
It was one of them though, when he loses in the opening match and you're thinking, okay, he's put that guy over, so now it's absolutely logic that he'll win the main event and then Bron will get the first shot. It could have happened. I mean, it's almost like we're giving him ideas again, but here we are. Other excitement that's happened, and the final piece before moving to the predictions is this very week that you maybe listened to this podcast, or the podcast was released, was the revamp of the UK tour. So finally, for all those people who had tickets before everything went south with COVID, they got to see WWE live. 4 dates took place in Newcastle, London, Cardiff and Glasgow. But the rest of the tour has been rescheduled to November. So there will still be people who will be hanging on and holding on for like places like Leeds and Sheffield and whatnot. But interestingly, tickets are still available. They have not been snapped up. So if you want to get yourself along to see it in person, it's still the opportunity to do so. As I mentioned, we'll move on. So we are here to predict the Extreme Rules 2021 pay-per-view, although, as to be discussed, there is currently one Extreme Rules match on the card. A bit of a strange one. So, yeah, coming to us live this Sunday from Columbus, Ohio. And as usual when we do this, all of the match card information is correct at the time of recording, as per WWE.com. But as always, card is subject to change. So with that being said, we have 6 matches to get stuck into. So we will start, gentlemen, with the US title match. Damian Priest versus Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy in a triple threat match. I mean, it looked like we were going to start with the obligatory rematch for the US title. It was all set to be Damian Priest versus Sheamus. Away we go. Here we go again. I say obligatory, but Sheamus did have to go through Drew McIntyre in order to get the match at Extreme Rules to begin with. And now the match has added extra Jeff Hardy. Priest, however, recently defended the title against Drew McIntyre and Sheamus in a triple threat match on Raw a few weeks back. If you haven't seen that match, that was a hell of an example of how to do a triple threat on TV time. Perfect. Really enjoyed it. Really hard hitting, and both of the I want to say all the guys, but it feels weird saying that about Sheamus and Drew. Definitely putting the champion in a great spotlight. Hardy was later added to this match following a victory over Sheamus on Raw this past week. So, will the Archer of Infamy hit the target once again, or will Jeff or Sheamus take the title? Paul loves it when I do them, don't you, Paul? Just for that, let's let Paul make the first prediction.
God. Oh man, do these ones just come naturally to you, or do you have to search for them?
No, it just happens. It's like that joke Tourette's. It just happens.
Of course. It's a bit of a no-brainer for me. Taking off this early would be stupid. It'll just kill any momentum he's built up. So Priest to retain for me, please.
Okie dokie. Andy, do you want to go next?
I see what Paul's saying there, and I like what Paul's saying so much so that if you can put me down for Jeff Hardy, that'd be amazing. I'm sticking with my. Jeff Hardy's probably not got that many matches left in him. So if they're going to do something with him, they need to do something toot sweet. This could be a good opportunity. So, and for all his ups and downs, and for all of his
mainly ups, let's be fair, and then
issues, shall we go with? I quite like Jeff Hardy, so
I don't think you're on your own there. I think he's well liked amongst most people. When you say that he doesn't have any matches left in him, I'd agree with that to an extent. But if you think about it, since he's come back, he's probably had a combined total of about a year and a half to 2 years off, with all of his injuries and other activities, shall we say.
It was.
So, yeah, I think he's probably saved himself the best part of 2 years of bumps and stuff like that. So.
Okay. Matt, do you want to throw one in?
I'm Damian Priest. I've gone first thing. I think, unfortunately.
You're Damian Priest?
What?
I thought you said I'm Damian Priest. I was like,
no,
that's impressive.
I think Hardy's been chucked in there as just to eat the pin, really, and kind of keep Sheamus as kind of thing, keep it going, and it'll probably end up being a Survivor Series match or something like that. I would presume.
I agree with that to some extent. I think that the triple threat was set up either to protect Sheamus or to set up Jeff Hardy as the next in line for like the Damian Priest feud. But either way, Priest comes out with the title in my view. So Andy, you could be on your own on Point Island right there. We'll see. Yeah. So second match I have on the list is the SmackDown Women's title match. So Becky Lynch is going in as champion versus Bianca Belair. For months and months, the crowd chanted, "We want Becky," but it seems what they actually meant is, "We want Becky, but not at the expense of Bianca Belair." At least that's how Becky Lynch seemingly sees things. We certainly got the return of the Man at SummerSlam, taking the title from Bianca Belair in an impromptu matchup that lasted 26 seconds. I mean, she's not been shy of reminding people about that since it happened either. But not only did Becky pick up the title, but she seemingly found her bad attitude again as well. So it looks like Big Time Bex is now here to stay. Will Belair gain the measure of revenge and take the title back? Or does Lynch retain? See, Paul, I didn't put one in there, so you're fine this time.
I can only assume we're less than 6 months away from a Becky Lynch pun of some sort.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how I'd fit that in.
Well, you're experienced vet. You'll get it in there.
That's what she said. I'm assuming.
Oh my!
I'm assuming that's if we then branch out into Cookie Cast getting over, rather than an unboxing, we do like a lunch boxing. Is that what you're trying to say?
I could show you my lunch if it would get views.
I mean, Andy would probably get taken off the air if you're going to start showing your lunchbox on stuff like this. So we'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
So Stu's last comments have made me realise that I'll be ticking the not safe for kids option when I'm uploading this later on today.
It was Paul that said it, not me. Okay. Well, on that note, I'll go with Becky Lynch on this one. She's blatantly going to retain. Hot streak as she comes back. I think this will probably be a fairly straightforward pick for everybody. Nods from Mr. Cook. So
Absolutely.
Becky Lynch is the next one for you. Matt, same?
Yeah, there'll be some kind of shithousery around it, but something, I think that it'll be, it'll be something along that lines.
Yeah, I want to pose the opposite account. I think Bianca Belair will win, but with the shithousery by disqualification. So I reckon Lynch will get disqualified because then it sort of adds to the heel persona thing. Because we always
go in for a Belair win.
Yeah, but I'll go for the Belair win because we always think about this when it's like, oh no, the champ can't lose it, like, kills the credibility, blah blah blah, like makes them lose momentum, and then we always forget about the count out and DQ, no title switch thing. So, especially for a heel, getting themselves disqualified is a surefire way of making people think you're a bit of a dick. So,
okay. So, yeah, that's you out there on your own on that one. Right. Next match on the card, the SmackDown Tag Team titles. So it's the Usos versus the Street Profits. The Usos have been busy fellas for the last few months, keeping SmackDown going at the top of the card by assisting their cousin Roman Reigns at every turn. But this week they also made a trip to Raw, where the Bloodline took on the reunited New Day. And as we've discussed, Andy will have been all over that match, especially for the result as well, seeing as it finished with the Bloodline winning. That gave the Usos a measure of momentum, really, heading into the title defence this weekend, until Bobby Lashley just came out and just destroyed everybody at ringside in the aftermath of him losing the WWE title to Big E the week before. But then in step the Street Profits. These guys have been assisting Finn Balor on SmackDown in his crusade against the Bloodline as well. So there's kind of all these different points meeting in this one. So there's potentially, even though they're not on SmackDown as such. There's the potential maybe for the New Day to kind of stick the Raw in here as well. But the match was obviously scheduled for the Street Profits and the Usos to iron out the differences based on their previous. Here you go, Paul. This is just for you now. I'm going to put these in all the time now just for you. So the Street Profits always want the smoke, but are they going to bring the fire to Extreme Rules? There you go. You enjoy that one. I will stop with these at some point, I'm sure. I went first. Paul went first the first time. So Andy or Matt, you can take the first one.
Well, I think there'll still be changes to this. I presume that there'll be a change on SmackDown and New Day will be added, and possibly maybe a stipulation as well. Being as a lot of people have been like, there's no kind of Extreme Rules, so maybe a TLC match or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say this has got tables match written all over it or something like that. Some sort of
certainly with ladders if you got the Usos and kind of thing. They're not going to put it on the New Day because I thought the New Day would be the person who they put in. I'm going to leave. It'll stay on the Usos, I think.
Okay. I'm with you on that one. I've also gone for the Usos to retain. Some nodding from Paul.
See, I thought I was going to be really clever on this one and be like, I reckon they're going to add the New Day to this. And then Matt started talking and I was like, oh, I should have gone first. And then I could have sounded clever and like I knew what I was talking about. I would also like the Usos, please. But every word of what Matt said, I was like, yeah, that's what I thought 2 seconds ago.
Just at the end of this, I'm going to throw in a tie break, so we'll come to that. So keep the stipulation thing in mind. Right, the next match on the card, really simple story: Liv Morgan versus Carmella. Probably not going to spend too much time on this one because neither of WWE creative, seemingly. So, Carmella claims she's the most beautiful woman in all of WWE. Morgan's sick of hearing it. Challenged her to a match. They're going to have a fight. Who's going to win?
Carmella. That's much thought, and as thing is, I'm going to.
Okay, was that because she's first alphabetically, or is that?
I think Liv Morgan. It doesn't matter what they seem to do with her. She always seems to be. All right. Oh, she's got a match. Wicked. Excellent. Oh yeah, she looks good in the ring. Oh no, buried for 3 months. We'll see you in a bit when we've done some kind of possible rebranding of you, and all right. She's gone away again. It just seems to be loads of false starts with her, and Carmella, she's not been one of the commentators as well, so kind of keeps you sweet, doesn't it?
So I was just going to say, I know that obviously Corey's he had to retire because of his concussion thing. So is he one of the guys who's officially on the no contact list? I don't know, because if he's not, then I think at some point during one of her storylines, he's going to get involved if he's able to do so, from a contact perspective and stuff like that. Obviously, if he's not, then it's probably very unlikely that he will. But I don't know whether he sort of gets involved in some sort of way that costs Liv Morgan the match or something like that. But I'm going to agree with Matt, stick Carmella down.
Currently, they're still officially on separate shows, aren't they?
True.
Okay. So I have Carmella down for Paul. But yeah, officially they're still on separate shows, old Corey and Carmella. But that probably puts Carmella in the hot seat to be one of the moves in the draft. Unless they then start thinking about with the...
commentators and stuff like that again.
Yeah, potentially. Andy?
I was kind of waiting to see if you were going to go, but because I was like, is it going to be another classic playing for points situation? Because I'm going with Liv Morgan for this one.
I see. Of course.
Me and you both, sir. I've gone for Liv Morgan.
I thought it was easy points again.
Purely everything that Matt said is correct in the terms of, she's been buried probably more than anybody, but I'm just going to pin my hopeful hat on the fact that she'll actually get a start this time. We'll see. She's still got a few T-shirts on www.shop.com, so they've got them to shift at the very least. But yeah, that's that one. 2 matches to go then. And we'll stick with the women's division, with the Raw Women's title. Charlotte Flair defending against Alexa Bliss. As we've come to expect with Little Miss Bliss, this hasn't exactly been a straightforward build to the match, as is now the norm. There's been all sorts of weird stuff and mind games and what have you. And the regular listeners and viewers of the product will know we've talked about Lily before, the doll which Bliss talks to. Well, Flair was presented with a gift on Raw a couple of weeks ago, which was Charlie. Flair's own version of the doll, in the same sort of demented stylings of Lily, complete with tiny Raw Women's Championship as well. So at least there was a bit of attention to detail in that. Flair obviously didn't care too much for the doll, however, she decapitated it a week later. So, we've gone from people arguing about who's the prettiest to people arguing over a doll now. So, really
when you said earlier about
in there.
when you said earlier about the WWE making a comeback against AEW, the last 2 matches would kind of move towards but we still do daft shit like this, so maybe not.
They did seemingly have a bit of a good verbal sparring session in the ring when this past week on Raw, Alexa was basically saying to Charlotte, "Who are you without the title?" And the crowd wooed, because obviously she's a Flair, and Alexa reminded Charlotte Flair that wasn't even her thing originally, and then Charlotte returns back with let's not talk about originality, seeing as essentially Alexa Bliss is still being the female Bray Wyatt for the time being. Pot meat kettle, ladies and gentlemen. They have also wheeled out this other statistic, which is a little might sway some decisions, that Alexa Bliss hasn't taken a pinfall loss in over a year. I mean, she hasn't had a right lot of matches in that time, but it's still something they've decided to drop in occasionally. So yeah, will Charlotte Flair retain, or will Alexa be able to sit on that swing wearing the hardware this time around? Andy?
Charlotte Flair's another one of those for me that anytime she's in a match, I'm probably never going to pick anyone else. She falls into the category of like Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, people like that when they come up, it's like I can't see past those people. So I'm always just like it has to be that one. So for me, it's Charlotte Flair all day, every day until that changes. But I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Okay, Paul.
So let's have a quick look at the combined daily sort of totals that the past couple of champions have held the belt for. Since Asuka won back the belt at SummerSlam 2020 and held it for 231 days, there has been another 4 changes in that time. Rhea Ripley obviously won it at WrestleMania and held it for 98 days. Charlotte won it and held it for a day at Money in the Bank. Nikki Ash, or ASH, won it the day after Money in the Bank and held it for 33 days, and then lost it again to Charlotte, who now has it for 29 days and counting. It seems like they're absolutely hell-bent on getting Charlotte to at least 16 World Championships as quickly as they possibly can. So then they can get her to 17, and then they can obviously forget about having to talk about Ric Flair ever again, so he's no longer employed by the company. So
Dark Side of the Ring film came out the other day, and
yeah, that wasn't exactly ideal for him. So I hate it, but stick me down for Bliss to win, please.
Okay. Matt, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I've gone Alexa Bliss as well, because I mean, part of me's like, would they make? There's no way that it's like the no way Bailey's winning this comment, but it's like there's no way WWE would ruin a Fiend character style thing again by having her lose and become kind of thingy. But let's face it, probably will happen. But I presume for some reason it's gonna they're gonna put it on Alexa Bliss.
The only thing I'd say is that maybe they could warrant her not winning by having then her build to win the Rumble, possibly. Because at the minute, I can't see a front runner for winning the Rumble from a women's perspective.
I'm not thinking that they're even thinking that far ahead. For the result of this match, I've put my WWE booking hat on and thought, well, next month is Halloween. That fits quite nicely with Alexa Bliss. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they'll do some kind of. The Flair will retain it this time. I mean, Bliss may well win on a DQ or something weird, but I think I've gone with Flair as the result. They'll do a rematch during October, and it'll be some kind of weird Halloween haunted house nonsense. And if she's going to take it, it'll be there. So for the time being, I have gone for Charlotte Flair because we know that they like to do stupid stuff with the booking. So I figured that was where I'd go with it. That brings us, gentlemen, to the very last match currently advertised on the card, which is the Universal title match, and currently the only Extreme Rules match or stipulated match on the entire card. It's the Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, going in to defend against Finn Balor. So Balor's finally getting a shot. After seeing a stallless SummerSlam spotlight, Finn Balor was granted a title match at Madison Square Gardens this past month, but took a loss. And as Roman was kind of leaving the arena, there was Finn looking all angry on the floor in the ring. And then the lights pulsed. And we know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. The demon is back. So, here he comes this weekend. It will be Roman Reigns versus the Demon King variation of Finn Balor for the Universal title. And as we say, made into an Extreme Rules match. So, do you reckon that the arrival of the Demon persona is going to make any difference to the fact that The Rock's still going to be at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns, or interestingly, there's this whole thing as well in there because they're going to wheel this out, I'm sure, again about the fact that the Demon, Finn Balor as the Demon, has not had a singles loss. So is that going to be, they've now booked themselves into that corner as well because it's an Extreme Rules match. So, how the hell do they get out of that?
There's no DQ or anything.
They'll find a way, but they won't find a way.
Is it just because that Vince has got such a boner for Roman Reigns that's another thing to add to the list of he's beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania. Now he's the only person that's ever beaten Demon Finn Balor. Is it kind of more down that vein?
Probably.
Well, as much as we could talk about it, I'm going to start putting it in now. I'm pretty sure everybody is picking Roman Reigns. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
I'd thought about it, and obviously with the Demon King kind of thing, I thought, they're going to pull some kind of shit on it. Kind of disqualification or count out or something like that. But obviously with Extreme Rules you can't have any of that, can you?
Nope.
Bearing in mind there was the other year when there was the Hell in the Cell Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt that had no rules, but then apparently had rules when it suited.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder whether there's, because old Broccoli's been lurking as well, hasn't
So
he?
I was going to say, there is no way this match is going without a Broccoli Rob interference in some way, shape, or form. But it's a Roman Reigns win until the match is Roman Reigns, Broccoli Rob, or as we know,
Broccoli Rob.
Rockley Rob. When that one happens,
Hey, Rob.
I'm praying that they have a tag team match at some point, and just to see Andy's face. It'd be like Christmas morning.
especially when you hear that breaking glass just before it kicks off.
Never gonna happen.
Special guest referee.
That's about as good as it'll get.
You say as good as it'll get. We've all seen WrestleMania 20. Because, it worked out so well between Goldberg and Lesnar when he was the special referee in that. So I did mention that throw in a little tiebreaker just in case we need it. Now, obviously, it is Extreme Rules. There is currently one stipulated match on the card. By the time that the card has finished, of the 6 we have mentioned, how many will have stipulations? I'll dive in first. I'm going to say 4 of the 6 will have stipulations.
Bugger.
Yeah, snap. 3 before anybody else.
2.
Oh, damn it. Oh, brilliant. In that case, I'll take 5.
Okay.
But,
so I must stress it's
does that open us up to other card matches getting added?
no.
Filthy slag.
Of the ones we have picked. It's up to you. I'm saying that of the ones we've picked. What would you guys prefer? Do you want to do it full card, or do you want just the ones we've done?
Well, obviously, I wouldn't say all the card,
Just the ones we've done, please.
Yep. Also fine. Also fine for me. I was in the box. I was going to write tiebreaker, but I feel like I should write Braun Breaker now after we've discussed him earlier. Okay, predictions are done. The news was done. Any other business?
I'd like to send a get well soon to Triple H.
Oh.
Hope for a speedy recovery. He was well enough to send out his first tweet, so it's all looking good in the Triple H camp.
I mean, his tweet is all well and good, but how many times do you reckon he's texted his missus going, "Has he fucked NXT yet, or what?"
Stephanie just sends back that sort of that Michael Scott meme of the.
It's probably what caused the Heart episode when he said he was coming down. Don't worry, we're sending Vince and Bruce to come and sort out NXT.
It'll be the equivalent of that episode of The Simpsons where Homer has the heart attack after he sees that Lisa turns down the check from Mr. Burns. And then when she tells him that he's got the calculation of the figure wrong, and you just see from outside, it's like, code red.
I mean, it is virtually like Harold Shipman's coming to look after your grab. Isn't it?
Oh dear. I mean,
too soon? Is that too soon?
What sort of timestamp do you need to put on these, Andy, when it's edit time?
I don't know, 47:33, Paul. I couldn't possibly tell you.
I mean, to be fair though, Matt, you can understand his reaction, because if you'd heard the words out loud from the guy up top, Ridge Holland will be NXT champion by the end of the year.
Sure.
Right. And the unfortunate thing is, it's going to happen.
Well, I was just going to say though, is Ridge Holland becoming the NXT champion the equivalent of John Terry becoming Nottingham Forest manager? If it happens, are you just like, see you later on, lads, that's me done for another couple of seasons?
gonna like turn the belt into a stick, isn't he?
Or a
He'll hold out the truncheon and it'll just hang off the end.
Go put it round his whippet. He brought with him when he escaped out of Yorkshire.
I mean, he could still wear the title around his waist and then just hang the flat cap over the top of the title, maybe.
I bought his whippet to carry the belt.
Do you reckon he walks into catering and is like, "Well, he's come for us teas"?
What is it? What is you'll know? Is he actually from Hull?
No, he played for Hull, but he's
Where's
not
he from?
Now you're asking. He's not. He's definitely not from Hull.
Is he a Yorkshire lad though?
I think he's Bradford or like Keighley around there, isn't he? Like somewhere.
He's from Keighley.
Keighley.
He came from Keighley's loins. Lovely.
He's
Keighley wouldn't produce anything as terrible as that.
he's from Liver's Edge.
Oh, he's a Wessie.
Dewsbury.
Ooh. Oh, Dewsbury. What's a traditional What's the traditional West Yorkshire sort of meal that you could ask for in catering that they're all like, what the fuck is that?
If a traditional West Yorkshire meal would be fish and chips from Bridlington on your weekend away. So is the anyway.
Okay.
I think we should move on. And was there any other business?
Nothing from me, thank you.
All right.
There's kind of touch on the wrestling world scrabbling for another cancellation session from the Dark Side of the Ring documentary.
Yeah. Oh my word!
I've not got a chance to see it yet, but obviously I've seen a lot of the fallout of it. I mean, it's quite shocking to kind of when you read some of the reports and read some of the stuff like other people have said. You know, I know I've kind of joked about Maria Kanellis being a renter quote on lots of things before, but you know, some of her tweets, and I think is it Michael Racbino or something like that, the commentator on Ring of Honor. It's like, Jesus Christ, it was like horrendous. Like, and basically told like all the female members of staff, for want of a better phrase, female. You don't want to use the word talent because it's the wrong situation to be using that word. But unfortunately, that's what they call them, superstars. Just being basically told, that's what happens here, get on with it.
Mm.
You know, and I think that's the unfortunate thing, is at times when you just think that's not acceptable that young women should be subjected to, you know, it's a very threatening kind of situation to be stuck in a plane with people that you know are genuinely bigger, stronger, and, you know, skilled in a way that there's nothing you can do. I think that's terrible. It must be difficult for somebody who, a lot of these people will have been trained in some kind of fighting, but there's still nothing you can do because these guys are trained in a similar kind of fighting as you, and you're basically told to get on with it, which I think is terrible, really.
Mm. I've purposely not watched it because I'm not interested in it. I don't want to know what happened or anything like that. But I've purposely not watched it because I feel like not to defend them obviously in any way, shape or form, because obviously it's well documented that some of this stuff happened by now, but you're never going to get, it doesn't matter how many documentaries they make, you're never going to get the exact story, because every single person on that flight was absolutely shit-faced in one way or another, and anybody that says they didn't do something, I don't think can wholeheartedly say that they know that 100%, because they seemingly were all that inebriated. So I don't think there's ever going to be an accurate picture of what happened. And then you throw in the added wrinkle of the fact that the main accuser, the flight attendant lady, was also then done for armed robbery at some point as well, so she's not exactly the most trustworthy person in the world either. So I choose to believe that some of the stuff happened, but I think sort of not. It's weird because like in the olden days, if you like, that kind of stuff would have been almost like fabled and glamorized, whereas now they purposely make these programs to do the exact opposite. So it could be that somebody was hardly done anything, has been caught up in it, and they're going to get absolutely canned because of it, or it could be that it all did happen and it's horrendous and they deserve it all. But I don't think you'll ever find out for real.
No.
One thing that did come out though, it was the one of the guys who is either the producer or the executive producer. I think his name's Jason Eisner. I may have made that up. I may have got that incorrect, but he went on Jim Cornette's podcast this week or last week to discuss the episode, because that's generally what he tends to do. He tends to go on to discuss the episodes when they air and things like that. And what they did say was when they were gathering the research was that there were more than one flight where incidents like that happened, and it came to the point where they were trying to work out which of the flights from hell technically it was. So it wasn't an isolated incident by the sound of things. Like stuff like that happened on 3 or 4 flights that were taken in that sort of time period. It was just a case of that was the worst of a bad bunch of flights, basically. But they've said that they've since coming over words here. They've since realised that they might have to come out and do a retraction for certain bits, because in the episode they say that Vince was on the flight. It's now come to light that they may have been confusing that with a different flight, and he wasn't on the flight in question. So they might have to pull a retraction and stuff to say that he wasn't on the flight and he wasn't able to sort of bring people back into order and stuff like that. But it's a really strange situation, and like you say, won't happen again these days because, well, neither nor should it. So that,
I do find that Dark Side of the Ring program interesting to the point where when they cover stuff like the Bruiser Brody murder and things like that, where there's actual police evidence and stuff where they can actually go on, whereas, I mean, obviously we're all sat here talking on an opinions-based sort of subject anyway at the moment, but that entire flight is there is no kind of, there was no documentation as far as I'm aware. It is all just he said this and she said that and they said the other. And it I don't know really what else you can say about it. So, yeah, I wasn't brave enough to mention that, Matt. So you've brought it to light. But I've got nothing else to cover. If you guys are all set, I think we'll call it. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the wrestling this weekend. Hit us up with your predictions and get involved. See if you can submit some guest predictions for next time out. So thank you very much for joining us, gents, and we'll see you next time.
So there you go. What do you think to that? Who've you got winning the matches? Drop us a line and let us know. You can do that by jumping over to thecookiecast.com, finding any of our contact details, whether it's social media or using the email function. Let us know who you think is going to win all of the matches coming up. If you manage to beat us, we'll send you a prize. So, checking us out on YouTube, yeah, do subscribe. Checking us out audio, do the same. You can subscribe as well. No issues there. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.